Thank you so much for tuning into Designers Business Community Podcast. In this episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing Effie Gomulia, who is a tax specialist and also a money coach to small business owners. She's going to share with us her business building journey and also some great tips around tax, cash flow, and everything that we need to know about finances as a small business owner. Welcome, Effie. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Yeah, it's my honor to welcome Effie Gomulia. She's a tax specialist and a money coach. And I remember
Thank you.
first meeting you when I heard that term. I thought, oh, that's so intriguing. So we had some conversations, and I felt that you should really be on our podcast to share with our audience what you know about tax, about money, about cash flow, because that's everything you do for your clients, right?
Thank you. You put it so nicely. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope I can share a little bit of my knowledge and my experience with your audience, and hopefully it'll be beneficial.
Great. Um, Please jump in and just give us a slight introduction of what you do, and then we'll get to some questions because I have some burning questions to ask you, and hopefully some great tips to leave with our audience.
Sure. So my name is Effie Gomulia. I am a money coach and I'm a tax specialist. I have been helping business owners, individuals with cash flow, money coaching with taxes for more than 10 tax seasons. So I would be happy to share what I know and hopefully it'll be beneficial.
Perfect. Now, I've always said that no school teaches you business, right? Like I went to architecture school, designers here went to design school, contractors go to contracting, I guess, trade school, but they don't teach you the business side, except for maybe like an MBA. And I know you had an MBA in was it Illinois that you or Chicago that you had MBA?
Yeah, I actually had my MBA from Stewart Graduate School of Business, so Illinois Institute of Technology. I also have my background in civil engineering from UCLA, both bachelor's and master's degree.
Nice. So you get our world of design and construction completely then.
A little bit, yes. I didn't have too much time practicing as a structural and earthquake engineer, but I I had an opportunity to work for a short time. Yes.
Right. Okay. No, that's great. So I really want to compare from what you learned in MBA as the school side versus what you learned as a business owner when you went out to have your own business. Tell me, was it similar? Did MBA school prep you enough for the business side of things, or was it completely different?
I was probably not a very good student because when I went to MBA school, my goal was just to get a degree and then figure out how I can use my degree later. But I think
Right.
a better way, if I could go back and do it, better way is probably to focus on what I would like to do and then specialize in that field. So when I took my MBA, I took general management. So I took a little bit of everything, marketing, accounting, and others, operations. But now looking back, I think I should have specialized, for example, taking more financial classes or accounting classes. But I do say, yes, the experience helped me to know how to work as a team member, not just at work, but also in a classroom setting.
Hmm.
And it definitely prepares me to be a better worker when I graduated because I learned from my professors, and I listened to their world experience, how they did stuff in their world, and some of them were still practicing in their field. So, yes,
Right.
I would say an MBA gives me a different additional perspective. Not to say that everyone has to get an MBA, but it helps.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. So have you always known that you would be in business for yourself, or is this something that kind of came up when you were out in the working world?
No, I never had in mind to be an entrepreneur or self-employed. It is a positive result from COVID, I would say. So
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I
Tell me about
was,
that.
yeah. So my goal when I was young is just go to school, get a good paying job. I would like to work in downtown and I would like to dress up nicely, get a good paying job, and that's it. I would be happy.
Right.
But everyone knows when COVID hits, everything changed. So as nice as the accountant that I was working for, he said, I'm sorry, I don't have enough files. I need to prioritize my employees first. I was a subcontractor at that time. So they just hired me during tax time. So I was laid off. And a month prior to that, I was working full time as an employee at one of the big five banks. And I didn't quite feel right at that time for that position with the current management. So I decided to resign and then I thought I would focus on tax, but then there's not enough work in tax, so I got laid off. So then I thought, okay, I need to figure out what I would like to do. I would still like to generate income and, if
Right.
possible, the same level of income as I would have received if I didn't get laid off from that accounting company. So
Yeah.
I started contacting everyone on my cell phone and said, hey, I got laid off. Do you know anyone who needs expropriation service?
Right.
So that's how it started. And one of the moms in my kids' school said, have you tried online networking group? Because everyone was meeting online. So that's when it started. And slowly I got referrals from friends from um, online, and I started making posts on different social media platforms. And that's when I slowly get clients coming in, trickling in. So it was a
Right.
positive result from COVID, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's great. I don't think your journey, business building journey, is too different than many designers listening to this podcast or trades. Just starting a little bit at a time, one at a time, and just building up from there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Excellent.
definitely. You have to start from somewhere.
Right. So I'm curious, was it what you expected? Building your own business, was it what you expected? Do you have any expectations? And how's it now that you've been 4 years, I guess, into building your own business?
I probably didn't have other expectations besides thinking I just want to make the same amount of money as when I was an employee. But I think being self-employed exceeds what I thought. So,
Okay.
what I mean is, when you're an employee, you do what you're assigned to do. Your boss tells you what to do. Here's the salary, here's the working hours, and you do the work because they need help. They have a project or they have some work that they didn't have the manpower to do it. That's why they hire you. And because of that, your performance is evaluated. And then if you do well, they may reward you with a raise, with a bonus, with a promotion, a new title, new responsibility, whatever. But it's limited. When you are self employed, you have to find work for yourself. Nobody's going to give it to you. You're responsible to find your own work, but it also means you are free to set your own price. How
Right.
much do you want to work? How many hours do you want to work? How
Yes.
much raise do you want to get? Are you going to get it from increasing your price or increasing the number of clients you serve? But
Right.
if you are one person, then that means an increased number of hours that you're working. So I find it interesting that when you're a business owner, you have so many options, so much freedom. And
Mhm.
sometimes it may not be good because you may be working long hours,
Yes.
but from financial point of view, it exceeded my expectation. Not to say that I'm making tons of money, but it certainly exceeded what I was working when what I received when I was working as an employee. So that's one
Right.
positive side.
Yeah, and that we're not even talking about all the tax benefits in compared to employee, right? Which I'm going to ask you about because you are the money coach and we want some advice on that. But yes, on the business side, I'm curious, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned when you start your business and now looking back at it?
I would say be confident
Hmm.
in what you know in your knowledge, in the expertise. I'm telling myself because I was not confident. Even though at
Mhm.
that time I had more than 5 years experience, more than 8 years, I think. If I were working in a company, I would be considered a senior. But out on my own, I didn't value myself that much. So that's why I thought I would start by being confident and by going to more networking events. That's what I would do differently.
Right. Okay. I think that's completely on the ball because a lot of business owners, like there's different personalities, right? There's those that are just natural promoters and they're great for business development and sales and networking. But then there are those who tend to be just they like their work, they are more task oriented than relationship oriented. So it's a learning for them and is breaking into their discomfort when they have to go out and get business. And when you're the owner, it's you, right? Like no one else is going to get the business for you. So you have to learn that side of it.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot more to learn as a business owner because as an employee, you don't really care. You just, let's say if your work hours are 9 to 5, you show up from and you work from 9 to 5, you go home and that's it. You don't think about work. The next day you start again. But when you're a business owner, you may want to come in earlier than 9 because perhaps you need to prepare for a meeting or for whatever. And then at
Right.
5, when you are ready to leave, maybe there's an unexpected email, an urgent email that you need to take care of, or you need to set up something for the next day or next week, or you need a vision. You suddenly have an idea for marketing, and you need to take action or write it down before you forget that suddenly, oh, my work doesn't end at 5. I still continue because I have all these ideas in my head that I need to at least dump it on paper or on my laptop to make sure that I carry it out. It may be good for the business because I have this vision right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's two completely different animals, I find. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, it means you have to take care of everything yourself from marketing, bookkeeping. Whereas when you're an employee, you just do what is assigned to you. That's it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, much easier to manage, less stress, I guess. You just go home and you unplug and then you're done. But as a business owner, you never really fully unplug, right?
Yeah, that's the negative side. But honestly, yes, it's difficult to unplug. And
Right.
I think when I was working as an employee, I felt like vacation. It's like, oh, I don't need to worry about anything. Somebody else will take care of it. My manager will take care of it if
Yes,
something
yes.
goes wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I've built multiple businesses and I still run multiple businesses. I find that one of the besides the time freedom and the freedom of control that you have on it, another huge benefit is the tax savings and all the tax advantages, especially in North America, right? Where we are just the tax is so high, not like Asia or other places. So for you as a money coach and tax specialist, are there any tips that you can give to business owners, small business owners like us, to help save any taxes?
Yeah. So a general one that probably a lot of people know already is to claim business expenses that you're entitled to, for example, advertising or home office expenses if you work from home, or your office rental, some legal fees, professional fees, and others. And one of the business expenses is home office if you work from home. However, if you have to rent an office, but you don't need the office for the full month or whatever the leasing period, you can always take advantage of what you're offering. You're building a co-working, co-function space. So business owners can rent an office when they need to, when they want to see a clients, or when they need to meet with their employees who work from home. I think that's a great option for business owners. They should take advantage of that. They're not tied into a long-term lease, but they still have a professional place to meet and
Right.
conduct business. So I think that's a great idea, Eric.
Yeah, for sure. And just the whole world is getting fractional. So why pay for something full time when you're not using it full time, right? So that's the idea with co-function workspace is to give just a fractional rent so that you can have a credible space to work out of.
Another thing is also to understand how tax works, because one of the common questions that I get from business owners is, I don't have any tax payables, but why are you telling me that I have GST payables? Well, that's because
Right.
the GST that you collect from your clients is not really your income. It belongs to the government. You are acting as an arm of the government to collect sales tax. And
Right.
when you file your tax return, you can offset the sales tax collected from your clients with the GST that you paid for your expenses. And then the net you can remit to the government, but you must remember that the GST you collected is never your money. It belongs to the
Mm.
government. So, one of the ways that I tell people to take advantage of the money they get in advance is that to park it in a separate account. If you still have room in your TFSA, you can
Right.
park that money in a TFSA account, park it in a high yield savings account. Don't try to invest it because
Right.
you may lose money when you need to pay. So park it in a high yield savings account and let it grow. If it's in a tax free, then you don't have to pay tax for the growth
Right.
of the money. And then if you end up having to pay less, then leave the money in there and let it grow for the following year.
Yes.
So
That's
yeah,
yeah, that's actually a really good tip on like two things I heard in there. One is not your money, so don't spend it, right? I think some business owners get make that mistake, and then tax times is like, oh shoot. And then the second thing is, yeah, if you've got this money temporary sitting with you, let's do something with it. Let's get some more savings, whether it's a high yield or I guess like a guaranteed type of GIC or something like that, right?
yeah, but with the GIC, you want to be careful to make sure that the money is available when you're supposed to pay your GST, because some
Right.
business owners may have annual remittance, some may have quarterly, some may have monthly. So you want to time the GIC to make sure that it matches with when you're supposed to remit it. So another common question that I encounter from clients is, well, I thought you told me that I don't have taxes, that I've taken all the uh, deductions that I'm entitled to, and that I earn very little, and therefore I don't have to pay tax. But why are you telling me I still have tax owing? Well,
Right.
another component for business owners is the CPP, Canada Pension Plan, and um, the actual tax that you have to pay. You don't have to pay EI unless you choose. So for business owners, you do have, well, I'm going to go on a tangent a little bit temporarily. So as a business owner, you're responsible to find your own work, and therefore, when you don't have work, you don't ask the government for the EI money, employment insurance money, because you eat what you kill. So you don't
Right.
depend on the government. However, there are different EIs available for business owners. For example, maternity leave, or if you get sick, or if you have to care for a family members, or a
Mm.
compassionate benefit when you have to care for someone towards the end of life. So you do
Oh,
have that
okay.
option. Yes, you do have that option if you want to pay into. But once you start, you don't have the option to back out. So make sure you really
Right.
want to be in the program.
That's
Have
that's a really good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, for business owners, besides paying the tax payable on the income you earn, the net business income, so gross minus your expenses, so the net business income, so not only do you pay the tax, you also need to pay Canada Pension Plan. So, this is what catches a lot of people off guard. They did not think about setting aside money for CPP. They just think, well, I am in a 20% tax bracket or whatever, that's what I set aside. So I generally tell people need to set aside at least 30%
Mm.
from your income to
Right.
cover the tax, CPP, and perhaps other things that you may not be aware of. So but why 30%? Because the lowest federal tax bracket is 15%, 1 5. And the
Right.
lowest, we are in BC, so the lowest provincial tax is 5%. So that's already 20%.
20. Right.
And then for the CPP, because you're a business owner, you act as an employee and employer. So you have to pay double portion. So,
Okay.
so right now it's about, I think, 5.6% or something. So let's say
Okay.
11%, or let's say 10% to round it down. So from there, you already have 20 plus 10, that's 30% already.
Right.
If you're earning a low income, then you're paying perhaps 30%. And if you can claim business expenses, you may be paying less than 30%. But let's say
Right.
you're doing really well, because we want you to do really well as business owners. And let's say your net business income is more than $200,000. Now your tax bracket is probably 50% plus the CPP, like 60%. You may not
Yes.
pay 60%, but you may be paying something higher than 30%. So I would say it would be best um, not to just put it aside and let's see how much I would need to pay. It would be
Right.
best for every dollar that you earn, I would recommend you set aside 30 cents or 40 cents. If you want to be safe, set aside half of it.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for that tip. I also find that small business owners, they don't fully understand the idea of cash flow, which is exactly what we're talking about here. But just in regular day-to-day cash flow and to collect the money, soon and all that stuff so that you have enough money to pay for expenses coming down. Do you have any tips around cash flow to help our small business owners here? Or how they can understand that in a simple way?
Cash flow is money coming in and out of your business. So it does not necessarily mean profit. It just means how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. It may be part of your profit. You may not be making money, but you still have cash flowing in. So I would say for business owners, typically what I encounter is they have unpredictable income
Hmm.
unless you have a contract that tells you you're getting so much every week or whatever. But even then, after that end of the contract, has unpredictable income. So, what happens when you have unpredictable income but you have steady expenses? I would say perhaps, if possible, project the cash flow, forecast your cash flow. How much do you expect for coming in? Do you have enough expenses to cover all that? If you're going to do a budget for your business, perhaps you can take the lowest income you have received in the last 12 or 24 months, or you can take the average of your
Right.
income. And it would help also if you have an emergency fund for your business, just like for personal, you should also have emergency fund for your business, because yes, you may be having a lot of income during some period of time, but then you may have dry season where you don't have as much income, and
Right.
perhaps you have unexpected expenses, or perhaps if you pay up front, you'll get discount and you want to take advantage of that discount, so you have more cash flow surrendered in order to take advantage of that discount. So
Yes.
I would say in terms of cash flow, forecast your cash flow and then set up a budget, have an emergency fund, and you can always tailor or redo the budget from time to time as your business grows or as it slows down. Whatever happens to your business, it's not fixed.
Yeah.
I do want to add one more thing about the cash flow stuff. I think as business owners, if you have employees, you should prioritize your employees, prioritize them first, pay
The
them first,
salaries.
their
Yes.
salaries, their wages, and for other expenses, if there are other areas you can cut those first.
So, Effie, those are some really good tips. Any final tips, especially for the creative and designer type of business owners?
A lot of creative business owners I encountered, they don't really like finance stuff because it's too
Yes.
orderly. There's no creativity. It's very boring.
Right.
However, however, the financial world is run by people who likes order. They like
Yes.
predictability. So you you have to treat it like a chore. So if you don't like bookkeeping, then hire someone else to do your bookkeeping. If you don't like taxes, then hire someone else to do your taxes. But
Right.
those people can only work with your data. They can't pull anything out of thin air. So treat it as a chore. Like every week, you can report your expenses in a spreadsheet or in whatever that your bookkeeper accountant give you, or you can give your receipts to your accountants or your bookkeeper so they can categorize and keep track of all your expenses, because the last thing you want is headache during tax time or during GST filing time, and you want to pay less tax, but you don't have the data to justify the expenses. And CRA will not take credit card receipts or bank statements as official receipts. So you want to make sure you have all the official receipts to ensure you can claim all the deductions that you're entitled to. And if you
Right.
hate doing that, like I don't like chores, just do it every week. You don't want to pile it up and wait until the
Yes.
end.
Right. No, that's a great tip, and I find that yeah, cash flow is such a it's probably one of those more foreign concepts to creative and designer type of business owners. So yeah, I appreciate that. All really good tips. I really appreciate you coming on to our Designers Business Community podcast here. If the audience, if you guys have any questions for Effie, just leave it in the comments. I'll make sure they get to her, and then we'll post that back up so that everyone can share the valuable knowledge that Effie brings. And you gave so many good tips here. If a lot of this is over their head, where can our audience find you for some consultation or to use your services?
And they can go to my website, prudentmoneycoach.com. They can also follow me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Effie Gomulia. I'm on Instagram, Prudent Money Coach. I'm on Facebook also, Prudent Money Coach. And I'm on X, which used to be Twitter, Prudent Coach. And also you can find me on YouTube on Threads. May I also add that I also have a bi-monthly newsletter for tax and money tips, and people can subscribe or they can just visit my website and check out the blog if they would like.
Excellent.
Thank you very
How do
much.
they subscribe to that?
Oh, they can send an email to prudentmoneycoach@gmail.com and the subject is subscribe. That's it.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Thank you again, Effie. Thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you, Eric, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Effie Gomulia. She shared some great business tips and advice around finances, tax, and especially cash flow. Cash flow is such an important thing to understand. It's actually the number one killer of businesses that go bankrupt. So make sure you have a handle on your own cash flow. If you like this, please share it with your colleagues. And if you have questions for Effie or for myself, leave it in the comments. And we're gonna make sure that we get to it and respond back so that you have what you need to build your business. Make sure you subscribe so that you're notified for our next one, and I will see you in the next episode.